Excuse me.
She's testifying via Zoom. The victim?
The victim is dead.
Yeah. He doesn't work at my office.
Oh, he does.
No, I'm private attorney for that.
He's with me.
Calling parties on Devontae Burton. This is case number 2058636, people of the state of Michigan versus Devontae Burton. Defendant is charged with count 1, assault with intent to murder, count 2, assault with intent to great bodily harm, less than murder or by strangulation. Count 3, weapons, firearms, discharge from vehicle causing serious impairment. Count 4, weapons, firearms, possession by felon. Count 5, weapons, carrying concealed. Count 6, weapons, dangerous weapon, carrying with unlawful intent. Count 7, count 8, count 9, count 10, count 11, weapons, felony, firearms. This matter is scheduled for an examination.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Ronald, on behalf of people P62243.
And good afternoon, Your Honor. Good afternoon to your staff. May it please the most honorable court, Mohammed Nasser, P74485. Here on behalf of Mr. Devontae Burton, who also appears standing behind me. Sir, please identify yourself for this honorable court. Devontae Burton.
All right, ready to think?
Your Honor, the people are ready to proceed. I just wanted to remind the court that you did find good cause to have this victim testify via Zoom given her paralysis. The officer in charge on the case is with her at the medical facility that she's at. I notified him and asked him to make sure that no one was leaving the room, including medical staff, when her testimony is being given. And I can tell him whenever you'd like to log on. I just have a preliminary matter with regards to a sealed register of actions in regards to count 4.
Okay.
Would stipulate that.
If I could just put that on the record, Judge.
Sure.
That in case number 11-012300-01FH, the defendant in this case and in that case was convicted of home invasion second degree on February the 15th of 2012 before the Honorable Judge James Shalinsky, a specified felony for purposes of the felon in possession statute, and at the time of this offense, he had not redeemed his eligibility to possess a firearm.
Judge, would stipulate for exam purposes.
All right, court will accept that stipulation for example for calling.
Your Honor, certainly there's nobody in here, but I would request a sequestration order, and I know Mr. Counsel has indicated that the officer in charge will be present. The plaintiff, but I would just ask for, again, to stress the sequestration order. Other than that, we're ready to proceed.
I would join in that motion, just asking for an exception for Detective Sergeant Timothy Madison. He is with the complaining witness.
All right, you need all witnesses testifying today at trial, and if you very much in the court will argue that denies future testimony. Any objection to officer charge reading?
No, Judge.
Officer charge exempt from that ruling. On Zoom, we have 2 people. One is a prosecutor, and the other says M. Johnson.
That may be, I don't know who that may be her mother. Yeah, MJ would be the mother. Those are her initials. But I just asked.
All right, the person that's on the Zoom that says under M. Johnson, I need you to put your video on and identify yourself, please.
Okay, no response.
Person that's on Zoom under M. Johnson, I need you to identify yourself, put your video on. I'm gonna remove you from the room. All right. And M. Johnson, I'm just gonna remove him. All right.
When you was down in Florida, it was real crowded like it was on TV.
So I think we'll have to have you.
Who's your witness?
Your Honor, the people's first witness is Miss Tierra Jones. If I could just ask some preliminary questions of the detective quickly, make sure no one's in the room.
Oh, well, I was gonna do that.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, Detective Madison, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is anyone in the room other than you and Miss Jones?
No, ma'am.
Are you able to hear me clearly and see the video?
Not really.
Miss Jones is having a hard time here, and I'm going to move the computer a little closer so she can hear.
Okay.
And I can hear you very clearly.
Can you tilt it so we can see her face?
You can't see her face?
Not fully.
Okay. Can you see? Is that better?
You gotta move it to the left, our left.
That better?
No, the other way.
A little more. Oh, that's not getting any better. All right.
May I proceed?
Yes.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
State your name. Yep.
Tierra Jones,
And Miss Jones, how old are you?
32 years old.
I'd like to take you back to July the 11th of 2020. Do you recall that day?
Yes,
And do you recall being on the west side of the city of Detroit that afternoon?
yes,
And without telling me the address, were you at someone's home?
no,
Where were you?
driving on Southfield Freeway.
Okay, before driving on the Southfield Freeway, were you at someone's home?
Yes,
And did it come a point in time where you had to leave the area?
I don't understand the question.
Okay. Well, you indicated that you were driving on the Southfield Freeway, correct?
Yes,
Do you live on the west side of the city of Detroit?
yes,
Okay. And were you on Southfield Freeway near 6 Mile or McNichols?
Hold on 1 second.
yes, approaching.
Hold on 1 second. I have someone else on. It says Benny E.
I have no idea who that is.
Hello, the person that's on the phone that says Benny E. What is your name, please?
It's me, Judge.
Oh, it's your
Oh.
clerk.
Yeah,
Oh.
I didn't even recognize you on that. Okay, all right, I got you.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, Ms. Jones, were you on Southfield near 6 Mile in the city of Detroit, County of Wayne?
I was approaching 6 Mile.
Is that in the city of Detroit?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that, and were you in a vehicle?
Yes,
Was anyone with you in the vehicle?
no,
And was this in the late afternoon hours?
yes,
What kind of car were you driving?
a Chevrolet Malibu.
And did you notice anything unusual as you were on the freeway that day?
Yes,
What did you notice?
someone riding my tail.
Okay. Can you describe the vehicle riding the tail of your vehicle?
Like a black SUV,
And
a dark
sorry.
color SUV,
Where was that vehicle in relation to you on the freeway?
basically on my bumper.
What lane were you in?
The far right.
Did you ever switch lanes?
Yes.
What lane did you go to?
To the left.
All the way to the
lane,
left?
which would be the middle lane.
Okay, thank you. And then the vehicle that you said that was riding your tail, where did it go?
On the side of me. It
So
stayed.
closer.
It stayed in the right lane, in the far right lane.
Okay, so closer to the passenger side of your vehicle?
Yes.
Now, at any point in time, did you ever look to see who was occupying the vehicle that was behind you?
I had already looked in my rearview mirror when they were behind me, but as they approached the side of me, I looked to see who the person was in the vehicle.
Did you recognize that person?
Yes.
Who did you recognize that person to be?
Devontae Burton.
Did you know his name to be Devontae Burton at the time?
I know him as Nunu.
Is that a nickname?
Yes.
Are you able to see into this courtroom right now?
Yes.
I don't know how far she can see though.
Well, you can ask her.
Okay, how far can you see into the courtroom?
I can see a complete courtroom.
Do you see who you knew as Nunu at the time in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Can you tell me what he's wearing today?
I don't know if the shirt is gray. Maybe like a gray button-up shirt and a white mask on his face.
Let the record reflect that the witness, Ms. Jones, has identified the defendant in this case as Devontae Andrew Burton. Thank you. You indicated that he was on the passenger side of your vehicle.
Yes.
And were you, what were you doing at the time?
Driving.
Did you have a phone on you that day?
Yes.
Did you ever alert anyone as to what was going on?
Yes.
Who was that?
I was currently on the phone with my sister.
And what's her name?
Nicole Jones.
One moment. Judge, the jail logged on. I don't know if you want me just to continue or.
You can continue.
And were you on the phone talking to her when this was occurring?
Yes.
What happens when you're in the middle lane and Devontae Burton is in the right lane by your passenger side?
Once his car once he got close enough to my vehicle, he shot me.
And were you hit by that shot?
Yes, I was.
Where on your body were you hit?
My neck.
And were you able to move immediately after that?
No.
Did he, was there any damage to the passenger side window of your vehicle?
I'm not sure.
Was your window up or down?
My window was up.
What about Mr. Burton's window? Was that up or down?
He rolled his window down.
Do you recall him saying anything before he shot you?
No, I don't.
And how do you know him?
Our families was mutual friends.
What happens after you're shot?
I was taken to Sinai Grace Hospital.
Was it off of the free? Did you have to stop your vehicle off the freeway? Do you recall doing that?
I don't recall stopping my vehicle, but I do. I can just remember hearing a civilian, someone helping me. I can remember a guy calling 911 and staying with me until 911 came. I don't recall how my vehicle stopped, but I do recall a stranger being there with me, calling 911.
Now, you indicated that you went to Sinai Grace after this incident, correct?
Yes,
Have you been in medical facilities since July of 2020?
yes, I have. I have not been home. Have been in and out of hospitals and assisted living facilities.
And I noticed that you're laying down in a hospital bed. Are you currently able to move any part of your body as a result of being shot that day?
No, I cannot. I'm paralyzed.
And is that from the neck down?
Yes,
Now, after this incident, did you make a statement once you were able to speak to the police?
yes,
And did you tell the police everything that you testified to today?
yes,
Also, at some point in time after the incident, did you view a series of photos?
yes,
And in those photos, did you identify the defendant who you identified today in court?
yes.
One moment. Your Honor, I have what's been marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 1. It's been stipulated to by defense. Pages 1 through 7, it would be the photo arrays that the victim used. If I can admit it into the record at this time.
Stipulating to it.
Typically for exam purposes.
All right, you're good.
Ma'am, did all of this happen in the city of Detroit, County of Wayne?
Yes.
I have nothing further.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, Ms. Jones.
Good afternoon.
Ms. Jones, I'm going to ask you some questions. If you don't understand, please let me know, and I'll try to rephrase it in a way that you can understand. Is that fair?
Okay.
You already testified that you were driving your car on or about July 11th of 2020 last year?
Yes.
Okay. Were you alone in the vehicle, or was there someone else in your vehicle?
I was alone.
Okay. You testified that you were driving on the Southfield, or was it, what street were you driving on?
Southfield Freeway.
Okay. It's your testimony here today that you put your vehicle in the middle lane, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and it's your testimony that a dark colored SUV came to the, what side of you, the left or the right?
The right side.
Right side, okay. Let me ask you this. You said you're on the phone the entire time that you're in your vehicle, correct?
Yes.
In actuality, you were on FaceTime, fair?
I'm not sure.
Okay, but you were talking to your sister, Nicole Jones, right?
Yes.
And you were talking to her the entire time that you're driving, correct?
Yes, my phone was in my lap while I'm driving.
Okay. And you were talking to her prior to this incident occurring, right?
Pardon me?
You were talking to her prior to this shooting occurring, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You testified that you noticed a vehicle on your bumper, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you were able to see the person in this vehicle through your rear view mirror, right?
Yes.
And you recognize this person in your rear view mirror?
Not quite.
Okay. Who is Prince Madison?
I don't know nobody by that name.
You don't know a Prince Madison?
Oh, a Prince Madison?
Yes.
Yes.
Who is that individual to you, please?
He's not related to me. He's related to Devontae Burton. He's nothing to me.
Okay, but you were involved with a relationship with this man, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Ultimately, Prince Madison is the reason how you know this different family, right?
No.
Okay, but you said that you were mutual friends with the person that was in this vehicle?
Our families was mutual friends. I know more than just Prince Madison and Devontae Burton through this family.
Okay, now you say the name Devontae Burton. You didn't recognize that name when this incident happened, right?
No, because I never knew his real name. I know him as Nunu.
Okay, somebody told you this person is Devontae Burton, correct?
Somebody told me his name.
Okay, and who was that?
I'm not for sure.
Okay. When this vehicle pulled beside you, how many occupants were in that vehicle?
I'm not for sure.
You don't remember whether there was 1, 2, or 3 people in this vehicle?
I just remember seeing his face, seeing
Okay.
Devontae Burton's face.
Okay. Now, and when you saw him, you recognized him, right?
Yes.
Okay, you recognized him as this individual named Nunu, fair?
Yes.
Okay, and during this time, you're still on the phone with your sister, right?
Possibly.
Okay. And at no point in time did you tell your sister there's Nunu next to me, did you?
Yes, I did.
You told your sister that?
Yes.
Okay, so did you also tell your sister that you were being followed that day?
Once he got on the side of me, I may have did tell her that I think this is him following me. I'm not for sure.
Okay.
Can't remember.
Now, you can't remember. That's fair. Let me ask you this. When this vehicle came beside you, why didn't you call the cops?
It just happened so fast. By the time he got on the side of me fully and I recognized his face fully, I seen his gun being pointed at me and I was shot.
Were you wearing a mask at the time?
Was I wearing a mask at the time?
Yes.
I don't think so, but I can't remember.
Okay. Was the person in this vehicle wearing a mask?
No.
Okay. How many shots did you hear?
One.
Okay. And it's your testimony here today that you saw the driver of the SUV with a gun?
Yes.
Which hand did he have the gun in?
His right hand.
Okay. And what type of gun was it? If you know.
I couldn't tell you that.
Was it a black gun? Was it a silver gun? Do you know?
It had a silver tip.
Silver tip, okay.
Like where the bullet would come out at, that part was silver. And I want to say the rest of it was black.
Okay, and how many guns were there? Was there one or was there more than one gun?
I only seen one handgun.
Okay, but you testified you heard 3 shots, right?
I never said anything about 3 shots.
You did? Okay, so how many shots did you hear?
1,
Just one.
just 1.
Okay, and was your passenger window down at the time?
No,
Okay, was your driver's side window down at the time?
no,
Okay. When you were at the hospital, you met with some detectives from the Michigan State Police, correct?
Hold on 1 second.
Sorry, Judge.
yes,
Hold on, you got another person, a Nathan Jones, is he part of this case?
That's for father.
Is he a possible witness?
Absolutely.
Huh?
He may very well be, Judge. I don't know. I guess by the prosecutor, he is not. He's definitely a family member.
He's a family member, but I don't have.
Is he a witness for you?
I don't know yet, Judge. Not done my. However, I would still ask because it's a family member that would be communicating with other family members who
That has
certainly.
nothing to do with it. Family, I can't stop family from talking to family. They're gonna communicate with each other. But the issue is if the prosecution is not calling them, and you, as far as you know right now, you're not calling them,
No, Judge.
and I'll allow them to stay out. Mr. Jones, take your hat off. Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. I apologize, Ms. Jones. When you were at the hospital, you met with the detectives from the Michigan State Police, correct?
yes,
Okay, but prior to meeting with them, you were shown a picture by your family, correct?
I was shown a picture by the Michigan State Police.
Okay, but your family didn't show you a picture of individuals?
No,
Okay, and you were shown a picture by the Michigan State Police, right?
yes,
And that picture was of multiple people, is that correct?
yes,
Okay, and at that point in time, you were shown other pictures that were individualized, is that fair?
yes,
Okay. You testified that you believe that you're being followed that day, right?
yes.
And what was the reason that you're being followed?
I'm not sure.
Objection to
Come
speculation.
speculate.
Okay, no, that's fair, Judge. You testified that you were in a Malibu, correct?
Yes,
And this other vehicle, was it higher up or the same height as your vehicle?
it was higher up, a little higher than my vehicle.
It was a little higher, okay. And you testified that this individual in this vehicle was saying something to you?
No,
No, okay. One moment, Judge. Open the question, Judge.
briefly. Ms. Jones, when you were showing us a photo of us many people in it, do you recall that?
Pardon me?
When you were showing the photo that the defense referred to with many people in it, do you remember that?
Uh-huh, yes.
Were you able to speak at that time when you were showing that photo?
No,
Were you able to point with your finger and point someone out in that photo?
yes.
Okay. And was it after that that you were then shown a series of photos by the Michigan State Police?
I was shown the pictures by the Michigan State Police originally.
How many times, if you recall?
Maybe twice.
And do you recall what time you said 2 times, so which time was it that you picked out Mr. Burton in those photos?
Both times.
Now, I have what's been marked as People's Exhibit 1. It's already been put into evidence. I'm just going to show it to you briefly, okay?
All right. Perfect. Give me all this.
Just because you touched upon the ID.
Oh.
Okay. That's fine. I have nothing further.
Nothing further for defense, Judge.
All right.
Let me tell
All right, thank you, Ms. Jones. What's the officer?
I'm going to tell him to log off. So, you can log off now.
Thank you.
Any further witness?
No, Your Honor.
Nothing for defense, Judge.
Motion.
Your Honor, the people who move to bind the defendant over as charged in the complaint warrant preserving argument for rebuttal.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes.
Courts had the opportunity to listen to the testimony of the complainant in this matter, and I'm going to object to the bind over without any argument.
Any brief vote?
No, Your Honor.
All right, court, having heard the testimony, argument finds us as follows. That on July 11, 2020 in the afternoon, Ms. Tierra Jones, 32 years old, driving on the Southfield Freeway near 6 Mile, driving a Malibu. Someone who was riding her tail or her bumper. She said, a dark SUV. She switched. She was in the slow lane all the way over to the right, pulled over to the middle lane. The vehicle pulled up beside her. She saw that the defendant was driving the vehicle. The person she knew as Nunu at the time. And that she was on the phone with her sister, Mr. Coldane. The defendant then pulled out a weapon, described as a gun with a silver tip, a silver barrel, and shot. She heard one shot. She was shot in through the neck. Doesn't remember how the vehicle stopped, but she ended up in the hospital, still in medical facility, where she remains to this day. Court finds that it is a question of fact as to all the counts. Those felony identified fact occur in the city of Detroit. Probable cause of discharge is defendant. Will be found over the Wayne County Circuit Court Criminal Division for further proceedings.
Your Honor, I would like to address his bond, if the court will allow me to.
Sure.
His current bond is $225,000 cash surety GPS tether. While he hasn't violated bond to my knowledge, I would submit to the court that this bond is not significant enough given the nature of the charges, given the testimony that he's heard, given the injuries that this victim has suffered as a result of the defendant's actions. We are literally just a strand away from a first-degree murder charge, Judge. She's paralyzed, unable to move, cannot defend for herself, and predatory conduct was involved in this particular case. She was followed by the defendant, shot by him, immediately paralyzed. There is other evidence pointing to his guilt on this case. The likelihood of conviction is high, and I'm asking for an increase in the fine. I would also note that he does have a prior felony record for home invasion second degree. He did not successfully complete that probation. He has outstanding costs as well on that case, and I am asking for an increase in the fine.
Your Honor, if I may.
Allow
lot of respect for sister counsel. I can understand, you know, her position.
I can hear it. No, I can hear his court.
Your Honor, may I continue?
Go ahead.
This incident occurred on or about July 11th rather. Mr. Burton was taken into custody on or about July 13th. Since that time, he's posted bond and we've been back to court and been prepared to proceed to preliminary exam on multiple occasions. However, based upon the pandemic, based upon other circumstances, that didn't happen. Sister counsel, in indicating there is no violation that she's aware of, certainly if there was a violation, she would be aware. He's had absolutely zero violation. This is a young man that firmly believes in his innocence. And while sister counsel may have a strong opinion as it relates to the high veracity of conviction at trial, I would disagree with that. This is simply coming down to a question of fact. For a trier of fact, there are a number of other issues that are present, and we plan on flushing those out. There's absolutely no reason to increase his bond, Judge. He's shown good faith. He's here today. He's well dressed. He's well mannered, and he's prepared to proceed. And he's had no violations. And a $225,000 bond is certainly a substantial bond with GPS evidence.
Your Honor, when I say that I'm unaware of any violations, because I don't know what he does in his personal time. I know that his home was raided. In his home was a significant amount of marijuana, scales, ammunition. So he has accessibility to weapons. This was, when he was arrested on this case.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to that. I mean,
But this is, I'm arguing it, I'm not bringing it in the proofs for the exam, but, I don't think that we're dealing with someone who's, just been squeaky clean and then all of a sudden decides to shoot someone. This is someone with, a history, and it is the people's opinion that the likelihood of conviction is high. And again, I said, we're literally a strand away from a first-degree murder charge. I don't see how it's equitable for his bond to be what it is, given the nature of her injuries on this case.
Judge, if I
No. Her motion, you get argument, you get hard. That's it.
Yes, he is, Judge.
Where is he working?
You can. Go ahead.
I work with my mom, she do home healthcare, transportation for, I do transportation, I pick up the patients and take them to their doctor, to their appointments or wherever they need to go.
What kind of time do they give you out right now?
What time are you supposed to be home pursuant to the GPS evidence? He doesn't have time restrictions, Judge.
All right, so he does now.
I'm sorry, Judge?
I'm gonna restrict his time. We don't allow him to stay remain out. But the only thing he's out for is work. He's home within 25 minutes after he gets off work, he stays home. No other free time.
Your Honor, there is an exception for medical and attorney visits, please.
What medical issues you got?
He doesn't have any, but if he were to have any medical issues.
Well, then, yeah, you can deal with that through other.
Okay, I would ask for, certainly based upon the nature of this case, be allowed to come to the office and prepare. Yes.
All right, I'll allow him to come to the office, come to your office to help in terms of assistance preparing for court. But you have to make sure that the other is made well aware of when he's coming, how long it's gonna be.
Yes, Judge.
Okay? His AOI date will be April 5th at 9:00. To get the changes on his tell him. Basically, how his time is restricted to work, home within 45 minutes, and doctor, he can go to the doctor and the attorney's office, as long as you make those arrangements prior with the other.
Thank you, Judge.
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, take care.
I heard you have the sheriff's office.
He does have custom.
I thought,
Let's get Tank in here. Let's get ready to do this case.
we get some tank out there?
Yes, he's out there.
Okay, you really there? Have a good one.
Do a part of it.
Right here.
Oh,
No, no,
sorry, this way.
follow
I
me.
know. I just felt strange about it.
Follow me. Have a seat right here.
Calling parties on David Easterly. This is case number 2156134. People of the state of Michigan versus David Easterly.
Over.
Defendant charged with count 1, homicide, murder, versus premeditated.
Over with.
Possession by felon. Count 4, weapons carrying concealed. Count 5, count 6. Count 7, weapons, felony, firearm. This matter is scheduled for examination.
They're waiting on somebody from the meeting. Hey, we're waiting.
Darvin Peterson.
All right, in Wayne County, is that Mr. Peterson?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. We need his attorney, right?
That's on.
Yeah, she's not on yet. All right, we're waiting on Miss Longstreet to come back on. As soon as she comes back on, we'll take care of her.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. All right. Appearances, please.
Dominic DeGrazia, P69815 on behalf of the people.
Craig Tank on behalf of Mr. Easterly, environment P58360.
Okay, we ready to see?
Yes, Judge. A couple of matters before we begin.
Okay, go ahead.
First, I would ask for an order of mutual sequestration with an exception to the officer in charge.
I have no objection.
All right, any and all witnesses testifying today at trial, any future hearing must be the courtroom or be denied that future testimony. Give exception to the officer in charge. All right, right now, there's no, well, got Wayne County Jail and a prosecutor on Zoom, that's it. They're in the background. That's why you don't see them up there. And nobody, I have no way to monitor who's on YouTube, which are also streaming live on that.
Very well, Judge. Your Honor, also at this point, I'm moving to admit People's Proposed Exhibit number 1, which is a Wayne County Medical Examiner postmortem report authored by Dr. Michael Kaplan.
I have no objection, Your Honor.
Okay, the minute.
Your Honor, that report indicates that Dr. Kaplan performed a postmortem examination on the body of Bernard Maurice Waller on February 23rd, 2021. The result of his examination, he determined that death was caused by gunshot wound to the chest. The manner of death was homicide.
All right, the minute for example.
And also, I believe, Your Honor, for purposes of preliminary exam only, there's a stipulation that at the time of these alleged crimes, the defendant had been convicted of a specified felony and was not eligible to possess a firearm at the time of these alleged offenses.
Is that a correct stipulation for exam purposes only?
It is.
All right, court will accept that.
people call Trooper Mitchell Lehman.
I'll make over here. Here. Give me your name.
Lehamann, first name Mitchell, Mitchell.
Can you step up here, please? You ready? Raise your hand. We swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I swear.
Go ahead, have a seat here, please. You may proceed.
Good afternoon. Could you please state your name and occupation for the record?
I'm Trooper Mitchell Lehman of the Michigan State Police.
And how long have you worked for the Michigan State Police?
Just under 5 years.
And are you a patrol trooper for the Michigan State Police?
Correct, I patrol the freeways.
Okay. And were you working in that capacity back on February 22nd, 2021 at around 10 p.m.?
Yes, sir.
And were you in the area of westbound I-96 and Grand River in the city of Detroit?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were you with anyone else?
Yes, I was with my partner, Trooper Owens.
And were you in a vehicle?
Correct, we're in a Michigan State Patrol vehicle.
Okay, now did something happen at around 10 p.m. in that area that got your attention?
Yes, sir, we were driving westbound 96 in the local lanes as indicated. I looked to my left and observed what appeared to be a two-car vehicle crash on the westbound 96 express lanes. One vehicle was a Dodge Durango and the other car was a Dodge Charger.
Okay. So from where you were positioned, what did you have to do to get to the area where the crash was?
So since we were in the local lanes, we had to flip back around to get to the westbound and the express lanes to arrive on scene to address the crash we observed.
Okay. And how long do you think it took for you to get from when you first observed the crash to the actual location of the crash?
I don't have an exact time, but an estimate would be probably less than 5 minutes.
Okay.
To be generous.
And what did you observe when you arrived at the crash?
We arrived on scene. Before we arrived on scene, we were advised by dispatch that they were actively shooting at each other, the occupants involved in the crash. When I arrived on scene on the right shoulder, I observed a black male laying face down. When I walked up to him, I observed he had severe facial injuries.
Let's stop right here for a second. This person that you said appeared to be a black male with severe facial injuries. And what lane of traffic was he in when you first saw him?
He was on the right shoulder.
Okay, and what direction of I-96 are we talking about?
We're talking about westbound 96 express lanes.
Okay, so in that area of I-96, is there a barrier separating the express lanes from the local lanes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where was this body in reference to that barrier separating the express from the local?
Yep, he would have been on the right shoulder, right next to the concrete barrier.
Okay. And you said he had some sort of trauma to his body?
Yep, he had basically a small pool of blood surrounding his face area. He had severe facial injuries. When I tried to roll him over, I checked for a pulse, which he had no pulse at that time.
Okay. Relative to the area where you said you observed some vehicles crash, where you estimate how far the body was from that area?
From the vehicles that crashed, I would say less than 20 yards.
Okay. Describe how you saw the vehicles when you first arrived.
The Dodge Charger was on the left shoulder, pinned against the Dodge Durango that was in the left lane.
Okay. So I know you described the barrier separating the express from the local lane, but is there a barrier separating the westbound and the eastbound lanes of I-96?
Correct, there's another concrete barrier dividing them.
So which barrier were the two cars closest to?
They would have been close to the left barrier.
The dividing between the east?
The divide the east and westbound lanes.
Okay. And you said that the Charger was pinned up to that barrier?
The Charger was very close. I don't recall being exactly pinned, but it was on the left shoulder touching the Dodge Durango.
Okay. And the Dodge Durango was on the side closer to the area between the express and the local lane. Is that correct?
Correct. He was more towards the middle of the freeway.
All right. So did you see any, other than this person that you described as, not moving connected to the,
Okay, hold on one second. I have someone else on Zoom now, it says Mary R. That's all it says. You have a Mary R as a witness.
not that I know.
I do not, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Other than the person you described as having facial trauma, did you see any other people in and around those vehicles when you approached?
Yes, once I checked on the person on the right shoulder, I looked over to my left and watched my partner run up with a med kit to an injured female. She was screaming for help, crying, pretty hysterical. So we started dressing her wounds. She had an apparent gunshot wound to the head and another gunshot wound to her chest. As I walked up to her, I also observed the Dodge Durango had multiple bullet holes around the front end of the vehicle. So at that point, we realized she'd been shot.
Okay, so let me stop you here for a second. The woman that you described as suffering from gunshot wounds, what about her led you to that?
She was bleeding severely from the head, and also there was blood basically all around her, on her coat, on her shirt. Once we started removing some items of clothes to address the wounds, she was pouring out blood from her chest area. So at that point, we had to render first aid to her.
Were you ever able to learn that person's name?
I don't recall on scene if I remember her name or not.
Would looking at a document professional?
Yes.
May I approach this?
Yeah.
Yep, it was later found out her name was Asia Thornton.
Okay.
We didn't have a physical ID on her right on scene.
You said you attempted to give her some medical treatment?
Correct.
What did you do?
I applied sterile gauze to her chest. I was bleeding, hopefully stop the bleeding and hold pressure until EMS arrived for further treatment.
And where specifically was her body located when you first arrived?
When we first arrived, she was by the passenger side door. The passenger side door was open. She was on the ground next to it.
The passenger side door of what part?
Of the Dodge Durango.
Okay. And she was where specifically?
She was right between the passenger side door on the floor and the back right passenger door.
Okay.
Outside the vehicle on the ground.
Okay. Do you know if any ambulance ever came to give that lady medical attention?
Yep, there was an ambulance that arrived. We assisted EMS on getting her into the ambulance out of the stretcher. Prior to this, though, I asked her a few questions kind of about what happened.
Okay, so let's hold on here for a second. Did she ever tell you whether she had been suffering from any injuries?
Yep, she said her chest hurt and her head hurt.
Okay. She was able to communicate with you?
She was talking.
Okay. Ultimately, did an ambulance come and take her away from the scene?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I think you mentioned some observations about the Dodge Durango. What did you see when you looked at the Dodge Durango?
I observed the Dodge Durango had multiple bullet holes in the windows. For sure, the passenger side window and the driver's side window had obvious gunshot holes.
Did you notice any signs of trauma or injury when you looked from the outside into the interior of the vehicle?
Yes, there was some blood on the passenger side seat. Also looking inside, there was a handgun on the driver's seat.
When you first arrived, was there anyone located inside the vehicle?
No.
Which vehicle?
I'm sorry, the Dodge Durango.
No, sir.
Okay. Now, when you looked at the Dodge Charger, did you make any observations about that vehicle?
Yes, I observed it obviously has been in a crash with the Dodge Durango. There was no one inside that vehicle. There was, I don't remember if there was one or two cell phones on the passenger side floorboard, as long as the magazine was a handgun.
Oh. Just a magazine, there was no firearm inside?
Not that I recall.
Okay. Did you see any apparent bullet strikes or bullet holes inside the Dodge Charger?
No, sir.
I'm sorry, on the outside of the Dodge Charger.
No, sir.
And I forgot to ask this question earlier, but the person that you described with facial trauma or head trauma, did you ever learn that person's name?
Yes, his name was Bernard.
Okay. We're looking at a document, refresh my memory, about his full name?
Yes, sir. Yep, Bernard Waller.
And while you're at the scene, did you ever come into contact with any other individuals that looked like they had been suffered any sort of injury or trauma?
No, sir.
Did you ever canvass the area or look around the immediate area around the vehicles for any other potential evidence?
Once the scene was secure and the female had been transported to the hospital, we walked around the scene and observed numerous shell casings on the freeway, which we held until evidence that could come process the scene.
And in relation to the area where the cars were found crashed, can you describe how far away the casings were from that area?
Yeah, actually the casings were probably 20 yards away. It was not right next to the vehicles, but they were scattered all over the freeway.
And you said they were all over the freeway?
Correct.
Now, was there a period of time between when the crash first happened where, and by the time you arrived, that cars were driving on those lanes of I-96?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did it take time for 96 to be shut down?
Yes, sir.
I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Tank, before you start your call, I just need to deal with something real quick before I lose this prisoner.
All right, this is case number 2155745. People of the state of Michigan versus Darvin Peterson.
Judge, just, can I have just 1/2 second? I'm on another Zoom.
It'll be more than a half second. I stopped the middle of an exam to do this, so, all right, I'll come back to it.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Okay. Oh, okay.
All right, back on the record, 2156134, people of the state of Michigan versus David Frederick Rocket Easter. Go ahead.
Okay, so just so I understand this is in the express lane in westbound I-96, correct?
Correct, sir.
And this is just past the Shaper exit?
I don't exactly remember.
Okay.
Right past which exit, but it was around that area.
Now, you described earlier on direct examination, a person that had a degree of facial trauma that was found lying someplace.
Correct.
Okay. Where is that in relationship to where the Durango and the Dodge Charger are?
The person with the facial trauma would have been the right shoulder of the westbound express lane.
Okay, so it would have been up against the concrete barrier between what divided the local and the express, is that right?
Correct, near there.
So then back across the street, excuse me, I didn't do that. So back across traffic, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, is it directly parallel to the, to where the car crash is? Is it further west down 96, or is it back
It would
east?
have been a little further east.
So, okay, so then backwards from where the scene is, to where up against the concrete barrier, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, how was the body positioned?
It was laying face down.
Face down, okay. Is this body, is it in traffic or is it on the shoulder?
It was on the shoulder.
All right, and how far is it from the barrier itself, sir?
I would say within a couple feet.
Okay. Now, do you observe any shell casings that are around the area of the body?
No, what I did observe is a bullet in the sweatshirt of the male.
All right, let's talk about that for a second. When you say a bullet in the sweatshirt of the male, what do you mean by that?
So in the hood of the sweatshirt, when I first arrived, I observed a bullet that was sitting on the sweatshirt, the hooded part of the sweatshirt. That was it. It was just sitting there.
Okay, was it a slug where it had been spent, or was it a round that had not yet been fired where the slug was intact within the casing of the bullet
No,
itself?
it was a spent round that was been shot that was crumbled up like it's been hit something.
Okay, so the slug was there as if it had hit something and it was laying on, just on top of the body, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Were there anything else in terms of casings that were on the body or anything along those lines?
Not that I recall.
Okay.
Besides the bullet fragment.
All right, so it was just a fragment.
Well, I'm not an expert on bullet fragments.
Fair
It
enough.
was a spent, obviously, bullet that was not inside the casing.
Okay. All right, and so did you stay there with the body until EMS arrived?
No, I went to address the other female.
Okay, so you went back across 96.
Correct.
Now, 96 in the express lane, right?
Correct. At this point, we had the freeway shut down, so no other cars were traveling through.
Okay, so you're not dodging traffic.
Correct. So the
Fair enough.
freeway was shut down at that point.
Okay, so you went back over, spoke with her, EMS took her away, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you described casings earlier on, too, in terms of where there was a whole bunch of casings.
Yes, sir.
Where was that in relationship to where the cars were kind of come to rest?
They were all over the freeway, really. The right lane, center lane, for sure.
Okay. Were they before where the cars came to rest? In other words, were they east of the vehicles, or at least in, further east as it relates to the westbound lane, or were they beyond the traffic or beyond where the cars had come
They
from?
were east of the cars.
East of the cars. And so with it shut down, you just wait for the evidence then, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Other than the woman that you see in the vehicle and this man that you identified as Mr. Waller, who's on the shoulder, do you see any other individuals that are down on I-96 at that point in time?
Not this time.
Okay. How about before this? When you're pulling up to the scene or anything along those lines, before you stop the vehicle and get out of it, you see anybody running around on I-96? When I say running around, it's pedestrians.
Yep, there was 2 pedestrians on the scene that were helping. It sounds like they just pulled up. They didn't witness anything, but they were.
And I'm not asking you what they told you, I'm just asking what you saw.
Yep, I just saw 2 other pedestrians running around.
2 of them?
Yep.
Okay, and so they were parked where the cars are at, right?
No, they were parked further westbound.
Or the
Right
westbound?
shoulder.
On the shoulder?
Correct.
Which shoulder?
The right shoulder.
Okay. All right, if I could just have a moment here.
Sure.
I have nothing further to witness, thank you.
No other questions. Thank you.
People call Officer Martinez.
Judge, I'm done.
All right, before you bring them up. This is recalling 2155745, people of the state of Michigan versus Darwin Peterson.
Christine Longstreet, appearing on behalf of Mr. Peterson.
And good afternoon, Your Honor. May it please the court, Reginald Andrew, P number 80254, appearing on behalf of the people.
Mr. Peterson, state your name for the record, please.
Darvin Peterson.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Longstreet.
Judge, after consultation with Mr. Peterson regarding this matter, we would like to waive our right to in-person preliminary, we would like to waive our right to preliminary exam. I've explained to him the nature and purpose of the exam, and after that discussion, we are here to put the waiver on the record.
All right, Mr. Peterson, you understand you have a statutory right to a preliminary exam where the state must show by probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause you had something to do with that crime. You understand that, sir?
Yes, sir.
Anybody promise you anything or threaten you in any way to get you to waive your right to preliminary exam?
No, sir.
You do so freely and voluntarily after having opportunity to talk to your attorney about it.
Yes.
Do you have any objections to the court signing your name to the waiver form?
No.
I couldn't hear you.
No, sir.
All right, and Ms. Longstreet, do you have any objections to the court signing your name to the waiver form?
No, Judge.
All right, court will find that you freely and voluntarily waive your right to preliminary exam matters bound over to Wayne County Circuit Court Criminal Division for arraignment on the information, which will be March 29th, 2021 at 9:00 a.m.
Thank you, Judge.
Judge.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Peterson. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Back on the record on 2156134, the state of Michigan versus David Frederick Properties. The next witness? You raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God. All right, pull the door right here towards you. You have a seat.
Good afternoon. Please state,
I'm plugging so I can see the video.
Everybody that's on Zoom, put your systems on mute. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Officer Martinez, Ronald Martinez, badge number 2741, Detroit Police Officer.
How long have you been a Detroit police officer for?
3 months and, or 3 years and 11 months.
Okay. And were you working back on February 22nd, 2021 at around 10 p.m.?
Yes, sir.
And were you in a car with somebody else?
Yes.
Who is that?
Police Officer Hamza Emily.
Okay. And did you happen to be in the area of Schaefer Highway and I-96?
I was on Davison and Wyoming when I was running.
Okay, Davison and Wyoming.
Yes.
And did something happen that got your attention around that time?
Yes, I came over the radio of, I was going to be a shots fired by the precinct area.
Okay, so let me just stop for 1 second. Are you looking at a document for record?
Yes, my report.
Okay, so.
Put it down. Turn it over so you can see it. Turn it over, put it down, turn it over so you cannot see it.
So if you need to look at it to refresh your memory, let us know, but you can't just read.
Okay.
So you said that something came over the radio for shots fired?
Yes, in the precinct area.
Okay. Did you actually hear any shots fired yourself?
No.
Okay. What did you do once you heard that over the radio?
My partner and I, we made the location by the precinct area. When we were on our way, we were advised by Police Officer Drake and Police Officer Gallo that they
You were given information, you can't say what the information was. You were given information, what did you do?
We made that location.
By that location, you mean the area of Schaefer and I-96?
Yes.
All right. Now, in that area, does Schaefer kind of run as a service drive off of I-96?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And where specifically were you in that area when you eventually stopped? Like, can you describe the area?
An alleyway appeared to be like a service drive right next to the entrance to the freeway.
Okay. So, did you eventually stop your car and get out?
Yes.
All right. Now, from where you're positioned, what would somebody have to do from where you were to actually walk down onto I-96?
You would have to basically just go down the hill, like, the hill to go down to the freeway. So it's like the top side of the freeway. So you have to go down.
Okay, so the freeway is actually below where you're standing on the service drive.
Correct.
And is there an embankment that basically you have to either walk up or down in order to get access to the freeway?
Correct.
All right. So what did you observe when you first got to the area?
I observed two officers, traveling in there, and that they had one metal detained.
Okay. So there was already somebody being detained at that time?
Yes, no handcuffs were placed on him.
Okay. Now that person, do you see that person in court today?
Yes.
Do you point to that person? What is that person?
What was that?
What is he wearing?
Green.
For the record, what is it?
Okay, all right. What's going to
So you saw the defendant being detained. What did you do?
I advised, one of the officers, that we should come to the area of where they observed the gentleman.
Okay, so let me stop you here.
Yes.
Did you actually see the defendant before he was detained by?
No, I did not.
Okay. So you started looking around in the area?
Once we made the location, I observed them. They were telling us, like, the primary unit was already on scene. They advised me.
You can't say what they advise you. You were given information.
Right. Given
What did you do?
We relocate the area of the surrounding area of the proximity where they observed the individual.
Okay. So specifically, where did you ever find anything of interest?
Yes.
Okay, where specifically did you find it?
Where the primary unit, they said that it was,
But you can't say what they said. You can say you received information, and you can say what you did.
Right.
Based on that information.
Right. We made the allocation where the officer observed the,
I object to what somebody else observed, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Again, objection sustained. You cannot say what someone else said.
Right.
You can say you received information from an officer.
Yes.
Then you can say what you did based upon that information. So you got some information. And from that information, you went somewhere, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Describe the area where you're at. What was around you that,
Semi-trailers.
Okay. So, like, for semi-trucks?
Yes, semi-trucks.
Okay. And what did you specifically see that was of interest?
There was a pistol underneath.
Okay. And where specifically was the pistol located?
Right underneath the car, the trailer.
Okay. And were there any other people around that area that you saw at 10 o'clock at night?
There was no one else.
Okay. And were you the first person to see the pistol?
Yes.
All right. How did the pistol appear to you? Did it appear that it had been there for some time?
I'm going to object to false speculation, Your Honor. Put it on a bit, man.
You can describe the pistol, but the question itself is false.
Fair enough. Describe the pistol if you can.
The pistol was, just placed, like if somebody had just put it there, with the magazine out, separated from the, pistol. And it was just laying there, there was fresh snow there, but right there, it was just there placed right on the semi-trailer.
Can you describe at all, like, the make or the caliber or the model of the gun?
I would have, it was a pistol, but I would have to look at it before. To refresh.
Read this and let me know whether that refreshes your memory.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Can you describe what type of make and model that firearm was?
Yes, sir, it was a Glock.
Okay, do you know whether it was chrome or black?
It was black and chrome.
Okay. Do you know whether or not the firearm was loaded at the time?
At that time, no, I just observed the pistol and the magazine separated.
Okay, so did you actually, retrieve the firearm yourself?
I did not.
Okay. Did you see somebody else retrieve it?
Yes.
Who was that?
Officer Yellow.
Okay. And when he, was it, I think you described it was underneath the truck?
Yes.
Okay. When you took it out from underneath the truck, did you make any observations about the condition of the pistol?
No, I just observed it, he picked it up, I observed him pick it up with latex gloves. I believe he made it safe.
Okay.
And then just retrieved it.
I don't have any other questions. So,
I'm sorry, sir. So, I mean, you don't pick up the pistol, you never put your hands on it, right?
Correct.
It's dark outside, right?
Yes.
Okay, I mean, there's at least some light from the freeway though, if I'm not mistaken, the lights that are right there, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, who picked up the pistol?
The primary officer Yellow.
Okay, maybe you just stand next to him when he had the pistol in his hand?
I had the flashlight and I pointed out with my flashlight and I said, "Oh, look, there's a pistol," and he picked it up.
Okay. All right. Now, where is this in relation? This is a tow yard of some type or a truck yard?
No, I believe it's the top side of the freeway. There's semi-truck trailers that were parked there. That's all I know. It looked like an alleyway, basically for like a company.
I see, so like a parking space for the trailers themselves for.
Just for trailers, yeah, there was nobody there.
When you get there,
yes,
Mr. Easterly's already been detained, has he not?
Yes, he's in front of the scout car without handcuffs.
Okay, he's in front of the scout car without handcuffs, and then, do you know where he was when they detained him?
I do not.
Okay, so he could have been anywhere within the yard itself, right?
Correct.
Okay. Hey, you're observing walking up where this, you observe your partner walk up and take this pistol, right?
Yes.
There's snow on the ground, right?
Yes.
Was there footprints on the ground?
There were.
Okay. So, if I could just take a moment, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Yeah, with that, we have no further questions for this witness.
I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett.
People call Officer Ayala. Ayala.
There are from the whole truth and nothing but the truth after that.
Yes.
Question? Okay. Hold on. I got a person, a phone says Asia. I suppose she's a witness.
It might be, so she should probably be.
I have a number of people on that. Person that's on Zoom that identifies the phone as Asia. I need you to turn your video on and identify yourself, please. No, no. Another person that says Delastine phone. Nothing. Another person just says Portia. And there's a iPhone Michelle, was the lady up in the corner.
I think Michelle might be the decedent's mother.
And I see someone else. I don't know who that is.
Your Honor,
Ready.
if I may. The officer in charge, I do recognize 3 of the 4 names, and they are related to the descendants and parties involved.
They're not witness?
One of them is a witness, that would be agent.
Okay. You recognize the young lady? The phone says Bree.
I think that would be the decedent's sister.
Other than possibly identifying she's not a witness.
No.
Okay, I just want to make sure before we proceed. All right, go ahead.
Sir, can you please state your name and occupation?
Police officer Michael Ayala,
And how long have you been a police officer for?
about 3 years.
All right. And were you working back on February 22nd, 2021?
Yes,
And were you working back at around 10 p.m.?
yes,
Were you working with anyone else?
yes.
Who is that?
Partner, Officer Drake.
And were you in a vehicle?
Yes.
All right. Now, at around 10 p.m., did you hear anything or see anything that got your attention?
Yes.
Go ahead, tell
Heard gunshots.
Okay.
Heard the police
All right, so which, were at the precinct?
outside.
And which precinct were you at?
Second precinct, Grand Station.
Grand River and Schaefer? Is that a yes?
Yes.
All right. And did anything else happen after you heard the gunshot?
Not till we went to go investigate.
Okay, so describe what you did to go investigate.
Partner and I heard the gunshots from outside the precinct, so we went closer.
Okay, I got Asia back on.
All right, if that is Asia Thornton, please. Is that Asia Thornton?
Let me see. Man with the mask on and the head wrap, what do you want to call it? The bonnet. Is your name Asia Thornton?
Yes.
Okay, you have to turn your Zoom off.
Turn it off?
Yes, you're a witness. You cannot be on this.
Oh, okay. Turn it off. I can't do it.
Okay, I have another person by name, it just says June there in the background.
June.
Put your system on mute, please. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so you and your partner went to go and investigate. Is that true?
Yes.
All right. Where specifically did you go to investigate?
The Freeway 96.
Okay, and did you end up in the area of Schaefer and Schaefer 996?
Yes.
And what did you observe when you got to that area?
Once we got closer to the ramp, I observed auto accident on the freeway.
Okay. Now, how long did it take you to get to this ramp area you're describing from when you first heard the gunshot?
Approximately 30 seconds.
Okay. And were there any reports going on over the radio at the time?
Yes.
What was the report on the radio?
I advised the dispatch first about the shots being fired in the precinct. We got closer, dispatch advised that there's an auto accident and someone shooting in the freeway.
Okay. So when you're in that area, do you make any observations about any people in the area?
Yes.
Okay, describe what you saw.
Well, prior to that, dispatch advised, I believe, third party caller, something like that. Unknown male running on the service drive. And right before we hopped on the freeway, there's a male running by the alley next to the service drive by the trailer.
Okay, so let's slow down here. Where is your car located when you saw that?
Right before the ramp, entering onto 96 West.
So are you on the service drive?
Yes.
Okay.
Not on it, but right there.
Okay. And how far away is this person that you're observing?
About 50, 60 feet maybe.
Okay. And describe what the area looks like? Can you describe it at all? What was in the area?
It's like an alley where the, I believe, semi-trailers park their cargo on. Multiple trailers.
So there are long kind of semi-trailer, trucks parked in that area?
Yes.
Okay. So what did you do when you saw this person walking in that area?
Yes, I saw him like almost like a jog going towards in between a couple of them, hiding behind there. So my partner and I went to go forward and investigate.
Why did you go and investigate that person?
Because the dispatch advised somebody was running on the freeway, on the service drive.
All right.
Running away from the accident.
So what did you do to investigate the person?
As we went more further in, we observed him, walk more inside, came back, and then came closer to us. Stated, I believe, he was getting shot at.
Okay. So when you say he's walking inside, what is he walking inside of?
In between the two trailers.
Okay. And
Where you could see like his feet.
okay. And you said he came from that area, and where did he come to?
I'm sorry?
You said he walked towards this area between the trucks, and then you said he walked away from it. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, where did he walk to?
Further in,
Okay.
almost like away from us.
And so you were able to make contact with him.
Yes.
How were you able to do that?
He came back out on his own after he walked in.
Okay. And did you hear him say anything when you approached?
We just asked him what's going on, you okay? He said he's getting shot.
All right. Now, the person that you're saying he said, do you see that person?
He said he's been shot, or he's getting shot?
He ran, so he was getting shot.
Oh, getting shot at. Okay.
Person that you're describing, do you see that person in court today?
Yes.
How did that person describe what they're wearing?
Front row, green shirt.
The record of witnesses identified the defendant.
Records on his life.
All right, so he said he had been shot at?
Yes.
Okay. Did he describe how he had been shot at or any circumstances?
No.
Okay. How did he appear physically to you?
Out of breath.
Out of breath?
Out of breath.
Did you eventually leave the defendant with your partner?
Yes.
Okay. What did you do when you left the defendant with your partner?
We went back, along with one of my other partners, went back to where he went in more, just looked around, canvassed the area. And then my partner advised me that there was a handgun underneath the passenger side of one of the semi-trailers.
All right. So, did you ever look at this handgun?
Yes.
Okay, describe how you found it. Was it inside the truck? Was it outside? Was
Outside, underneath the truck, on the passenger side, with the magazine out. There was stovepipe malfunction on it, with the spent casing on the flag.
All right, so let's stop here for a second. This area where this truck is, where the gun is underneath the truck, is that the same area where you had seen the defendant walking earlier?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever see any other people in that area aside from the defendant before you found the firearm?
No.
You described that there was some type of malfunction with the gun?
Yes.
Okay, describe what you saw.
It's a stovepipe malfunction. Usually when a round goes off, sticks out from the top, and the slide won't go all the way.
Is this a semi-automatic firearm?
Yes.
Okay. And as part of that, when a round is fired out of the gun, are casings ejected from the firearm?
Yes.
And is there a slide where the casings are ejected from?
Yes.
Okay. So can you describe where the casing was relative to the gun itself?
Right where the slide was on top.
Okay.
Jammed in between the slide.
You're familiar with firearms, right?
Yes.
Okay. The way this gun was found with the casing jammed inside, can you fire a firearm while it's in that condition?
Speculation.
If he's familiar with semi-automatic firearms. It's fine, I'll move on.
Yeah.
So what did you do when you saw the weapon?
I recovered it.
Okay. Were there any other live ammunition associated with the firearm?
Yes.
Do you know how many rounds were recovered?
I don't recall, but a couple of the mag that was separated from each other.
Looking at a document, refresh your memory?
Yes.
Does that refresh your memory?
Yes.
How many live rounds were there?
There's 8 live rounds left in the magazine.
And can you describe all the make and model of the firearm?
Yeah, I believe it's a Glock 22 black and gold.
Okay. Well, you said a 22, are you sure about that? Looking at the document, refresh your memory?
Yes.
What model was it?
Glock 26.
All right. And after you confiscated it, did you ever turn that gun over to any other law enforcement officers?
Yes.
What agency did they work with?
Michigan State.
All right, and how did you actually turn it over to them?
They met up with us where we had a weapon and been detained. And I handed it over to them and put it in our evidence folder.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
If I could just have a moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
No questions of the witness.
All right, thank you.
People call Officer Drake.
Any more witnesses do you have?
I think two, Judge.
You want to approve? What Officer Drake want to say?
Sorry, Judge?
What does Officer Drake want to say?
This kind of case condition, Officer Drake.
Okay, and what's the other one?
Evidence theft.
What I need him for?
Because there's a lab report from the Michigan State Police about the firearms and the bullet that was recovered. And I need to put on the record how those were confiscated.
All those.
The casings and the bullet was recovered from the complainant, and then it was tested to the firearm that was recovered.
Oh, okay, I see. All right, thank you. What else, Miss? Stand up, you swear or affirm the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. Could you please state your name and occupation?
I'm the officer, Roger Drake, police officer, Detroit.
How long have you been a police officer for?
2 years.
Okay. And were you working back on February 22nd, 2021 in the area of Schaefer and the I-96 Expressway?
Yes.
And were you working with anyone else?
Yes.
Who's that?
Officer Michael Ion.
Okay. Now, did you ultimately investigate any individuals in connection with a suspected shooting that occurred at that location and time?
Yes.
Okay. Describe how you came into contact with any potential suspects.
Me and my partner canvassed the area, and 96 and Schaefer. We observed an individual walking there.
What objective to what we observed, Your Honor?
I observed an individual walking there at a
subsequently, did you make contact with that person?
Yes,
Okay, do you see that person in court today?
yes,
Can you point to that person, describe what they're wearing?
in the back corner in the green shirt.
The record of witnesses identify the defendant.
So we put,
Where was the first place you made contact with the defendant?
Still where?
Yeah, like describe the area.
Oh, no, a field, not a field, something like a street, you know.
Did you have to go and chase him, or did he come to you?
No, he came,
Okay. So how did he appear to you when you came into contact with him?
out of breath. Like shaking up.
Okay. And at the time, right, had you received any reports about a shooting?
Yes,
Did you know who the potential victims were?
no,
Did you know who the potential suspects were?
no,
Did you know any details about any potential crime at that time, other than the report over the radio?
the fact that it was shooting on a freeway.
Right. Did you know any details other than that?
No.
Okay. And from when you first encountered the defendant, how much time had passed between when you received that information over the radio and when you encountered the defendant?
Not much time, a few minutes.
Okay. So, did you stop the defendant?
Yes,
Okay. Why did you stop?
the investigator seemed kind of odd due to the run that came on.
Okay. And what specifically was odd about it?
Individual walking there, so much right.
Okay. Is that a residential area?
No,
Was there a lot of pedestrian traffic in the area?
no,
Okay. So, you detained him, correct?
no.
Okay. How would you describe what you did?
We talked, I was talking to him, had a conversation.
Okay. Did you place him in handcuffs?
No,
Did you read him his Miranda warnings before you talked?
no.
So what did you ask him?
Asked him, what happened?
What did he tell you?
They were shooting at me. I asked,
Well, hold on, let's, because that went real quick. He told you what?
they were shooting at me.
They were shooting at me?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ask, okay, so go ahead, did he say anything else?
I asked who was shooting at you? And he didn't give me an answer.
Did you ask him where the shooting occurred?
No. No.
Did you ask him, whether he was in a car or not?
Yes,
Okay, so what did he tell you?
he was in the Charger.
Did he say where specifically he was located in the Charger?
Passenger.
Okay. Ultimately, was the defendant taken under arrest at that time?
No,
Strike that. Eventually, while you were there at that location, was he placed under arrest?
yes.
Okay. When did that occur?
Once, Officer Ayala Martinez informed me, the weapon was covered.
Okay. I don't have any questions.
So you prepared a report in this matter, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And just so we're clear here, can you give your report with you right now?
no, I don't have no.
Okay. And so, I mean, you're Roger Drake, is that right?
Pardon?
Are you're Roger Drake, is that your
Yeah.
name? Okay, so in your report, do you list yourself as the investigator?
No,
Okay. Now, can I approach the witness for the purpose of asking whether this is his report or not?
sure.
So is this your report? Take a look at it. Is that you?
yes,
That's your report?
yes,
Okay. Now, you said you had a conversation with Mr. Easterly, right?
yes,
Okay. And you said that Mr. Easterly indicated to you that he'd come out of a Charger, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you put that in your report that Mr. Easterly said to you that I'd come out of a Charger?
I'll put it in my report there, passenger in the Charger.
Okay. Okay, so beyond the things that you've enumerated, is there any other discussion that takes place between the two of you?
No.
That meaning you and Mr. Easterly?
No.
Nothing? Let you just have a moment, Your Honor. All right. Now, you asked Mr. Easterly, or at least Mr. Easterly explained to you that he was a passenger in the Charger, correct?
Yes.
Okay. He didn't specify which seat he was in that was in the Charger, correct?
Correct.
Okay. With that, I have nothing further. I don't have any other questions. People call Trooper Priscilla.
You spelling the last name?
P-R-Z-Y-B-Y-L-O.
Trooper Nolan Frisbee, Nolan, P-R-Z-Y-B-Y-L-O. Yes, sir.
Okay, LC3. You may proceed.
Good afternoon. Please state your name and occupation.
Trooper Nolan Frisbee, Trooper with the Michigan State Police Metro South.
Okay. I want to ask you about some events that occurred back on February 22nd, 2021. Did you get called out to the area of I-96 in Grand River, in the city of Detroit?
Yes, sir.
And why were you called out there?
I was the scene of a shooting on the freeway, and there were a couple of fatalities on each of them.
All right, and what was your job responsibilities there?
I responded as a business technician.
Okay, so, did you take any photographs of the area?
Yes, sir.
Did you collect any evidence photographs?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, did you find any motor vehicles that appeared to be crashed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, describe the motor vehicles.
There were two vehicles crashed on the left side of the westbound lane of 96. One of them was a Durango, one of them was a Dodge Charger.
Okay. Now, the Dodge Durango, did you make any observations about the exterior of that vehicle?
Yes, sir. There were multiple bullet holes on the vehicle, both driver's side, the window, the windshield in front of the driver, and also on the passenger front door.
Did you ever catalog or count the number of bullet holes in the different area of the Durango?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you describe them?
Best of my recollection, obviously,
We're looking at a document, refresh your memory.
my report would have the itemized of the bullet holes in the vehicle. Thank you, sir.
Describe where you counted the different bullet holes.
The Durango had 5 bullet holes in the front driver door window. There was 1 bullet hole on the driver's side at the beginning of what we consider the B pillar, which is right behind the driver's side door. 2 bullet holes were in the windshield directly in front of where the driver would be sitting. 2 more bullet holes were in the front passenger window.
Did you look inside the Dodge Durango at any point?
Yes, sir.
Did there appear to be any signs of injury or trauma on the interior of the vehicle?
Absolutely. There was a significant amount of blood inside the vehicle.
Where specifically in the car?
On the driver's right-hand side of the driver's seat, significant amount of blood in the center console and the cup holder area between the seats. There was blood on the passenger side as well.
Did you also observe the Dodge Charger that was part of the crash?
Yes, sir.
Did you observe any apparent bullet strikes or bullet holes in the Dodge Charger?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you look at the interior of the Dodge Charger?
Yes, sir.
Did you observe any signs of injuries or trauma on the interior of the vehicle?
No, sir.
Did you find any evidence related to firearms on the inside of the Dodge Charger?
Yes, sir.
What did you find?
On the front passenger floorboard, there was a magazine for a Glock firearm that had rounds in it.
And do you know what type of caliber the bullets were for, or the magazine was for?
I believe it was a 9mm.
Okay. In the area around the cars, did you look for any evidence in the immediate area?
Yes, sir.
Did you find any items of note regarding firearms?
Yes, sir. On the expressway, within the very close proximity to the vehicles, there were multiple bullet shell casings on the expressway.
Okay. And relative to the locations of the Chargers and the Durango, how far away would you estimate that they were?
The majority of the rounds, I would say, were approximately 30 feet, but there were rounds further back than that. The exact measurement was taken by Specialist Lesnowski, who responded to the scene to take measurements.
Any of these casings that you recovered, are they associated with any MSP item numbers?
Oh, yes, sir. They would have been itemized in the report. Specifically, each shell casing recovered would have its own item number.
With looking at your report, refresh your memory about the specific item numbers.
Yes, sir.
Specifically, what item is described as MSP item number 13?
Item number 13 is described as being ammunition, a brass 9mm caliber shell casing.
Did you recover that?
Yes, sir.
And where was it recovered from?
Found in the center lanes of westbound I-96 freeway.
Okay. Item number 14. Can you describe what that is?
A brass 9mm caliber shell casing recovered in the center lanes of westbound I-96 freeway.
Item number 15. Can you describe that?
Another brass 9mm caliber shell casing recovered from the center lanes of westbound I-96 freeway.
And item 16. Can you describe that?
A brass 9mm caliber shell casing recovered from the center lanes of westbound I-96 freeway.
Okay. Now, aside from the cases that recovered in Expressway, were there any people who were deceased that you examined?
There was a gentleman deceased on the right shoulder of the expressway.
Okay. What observations did you make about him when you first observed him?
I waited for the medical examiner's arrival to photograph the deceased who was on the sheet. Upon the medical examiner's arrival, when they pulled the sheet back, I photographed the body where it was. While I was there to take those photographs, I observed in plain sight a bullet round projectile lying right between his legs on the asphalt.
Okay. Did this appear to be a fire bullet?
Yes, sir.
Okay. were there any other suspected or potential bullets that were found in and around the decedent's body?
Yes, sir. Once I observed the first one, I made a more close examination of the area and of the body itself. There was a second round discovered in between his legs, higher up by the groin. And then on the deceased's body, I believe on his left shoulder blade area, there was a bullet that was actually shooting through the fabric of the sweatshirt. Got caught up in that.
Okay. Now did you recover the bullet, all those bullets that you described?
I did recover all of them.
All right, can you describe what item number 20 is?
Described as being a copper jacketed bullet removed from the victim's clothing on his shoulder.
Okay. Now, you recovered that and placed it as item 20?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, at this point, people have moved to admit people's proposed exhibit number 2, which is the laboratory report from the Michigan State Police.
Any objection?
I have no objection, Your Honor.
You admit it? That's exhibit 2,
Yes.
the lab report.
You also, I believe you testified you photographed the
The
vehicle.
photos, I need to see that.
Oh.
Give me 1 second.
You said you photographed the Dodge Durango?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm showing you what's been marked as people's proposed exhibit number 3. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
This is a picture of the front windshield of the Durango, the bullet holes that are in the windshield.
Is that a fair and accurate representation of the Durango as you saw it that night?
Yes, sir.
People would move to admit people's proposed exhibit number 3.
Any objection?
I have none.
You admit it?
Showing you what's been marked as people's proposed exhibit number 4. Can you describe that?
This is a picture of the front driver's side window of the Durango and the bullet holes in it.
Is that a fair and accurate representation?
Yes, sir.
People would move to admit people's proposed exhibit 4.
I have no objection.
You admit it?
Showing you what's been marked as people's proposed exhibit 5. Can you describe that?
This is the front passenger door of the Durango and the 2 bullet holes in the door.
And that's a fair and accurate representation?
Yes, sir.
People would move to admit people's proposed exhibit 5.
I have no objection.
You admit it?
Any opposed? I don't have any other questions.
Sir, were you the evidence tech that was in charge of the scene?
I guess I'd like to question what you mean by in charge of the scene.
Well, I mean, were you the person that was in charge of processing the scene?
Yes, sir, I would say so.
Okay. Were there other evidence techs out with you?
There were several people on scene, sir.
Were there other evidence techs with you?
There was a trooper, drawing a blank on the gentleman's name. He was there on scene. He was there with us.
Okay, well, this trooper, whose name you now draw a blank about, is he an evidence tech?
He is.
Okay. So there's at least you and one other evidence tech, right?
Yes, sir.
Any more evidence techs besides the one gentleman whose name you cannot recall?
No, sir.
All right. Now let's talk about casing. You recover casings to a .45 pistol?
45?
Yeah.
Don't
Please, no refresh recollection.
I don't, I'll tell you, I recall 45 now. No, sir, I don't see a 45.
Okay. You recover any other calibers besides the 9mm?
Yes, sir, I have several 40 caliber shell casings.
40 caliber.
Yes,
Where were the 40 calibers at, sir?
found in item number 6, 40 caliber shell casing found in the center lane of westbound 996 freeway.
Okay,
Item number 7, a silver 40 caliber shell casing found in westbound 996 freeway. Item number 8, a brass 40 caliber shell casing found westbound center lane of westbound 996 freeway. Item number 9, a silver 40 caliber shell casing found in the center lane of westbound 996 freeway. Item number 10, a silver 40 caliber shell casing found in the center lane of westbound 996 freeway. And item number 11, a silver 40 caliber shell casing found in westbound 996 freeway. And number 12, a silver 40 caliber shell casing found in the center lane of westbound 996 freeway. And then item number 17 is a brass 40 caliber shell casing found in the center lane of westbound 996 freeway. Those are the shell casings that I listed.
okay. Just so we're clear here, I know that you went through them individually. How many 40 calibers were recovered, the casings were recovered then, sir?
I believe it is 9.
9 40 caliber rounds?
Double check that number. My apologies, it is 8.
Okay, fair enough. Now, you were up close to the decedent, right?
Sure.
Okay, and you said that you saw, I guess what would be called a spent slug that was between this man's legs, he laid up, or between his legs, he was laying on the ground, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now you're not in the business of being able to offer testimony, if I'm not mistaken, about what gun those slugs belong to, correct?
No, sir.
Okay, so as we sit here right now, you have absolutely no idea whether they're 9mm or a 40 caliber or something else, right?
That's kind of a double question. I cannot testify to the caliber of the round, the bullets that were recovered.
Fair enough. Just out of curiosity, did you ever recover a 357 SIG at the scene of the, or at the crime scene?
Sure, I believe there was a 357 in the Durango. I recollect.
Okay, so there's a 357 in the Durango. And, I mean, were you the person that recovered that? Could you describe to the court where you recovered it?
On the driver's seat, I believe it was sitting right on the driver's seat.
Just sitting on the seat? Okay. Was the firearm loaded?
I believe it was, sir. Yes, sir, it was.
Okay. How many rounds did it have inside of it?
There were 14 rounds of ammunition, including 1 round in the chamber.
Okay. Now, besides the 357, okay, SIG, that's just so we're clear here, that's not a revolver, that's a semi-automatic weapon, is that not correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And a 9mm that's recovered elsewhere. Are there any other guns that are recovered?
By me, sir?
Or anyone else that you know of or that you have a report or have any knowledge about?
My understanding is the weapon was recovered by the Detroit Police Department.
Fair enough. Okay. Other than that weapon recovered by the Detroit Police Department and a 357 SIG that was taken out of the Durango, are there any other weapons that were recovered, sir?
That's my knowledge.
You ever recover a 40 caliber?
No, sir.
I wish I had nothing further.
Anything further?
Your Honor, I apologize. I know that I said that I have no further questions, but I had one that I neglected to ask. May I?
Sure.
Thank you. Sir, may I approach the witness, Your Honor?
What?
Well, I'll ask a question. Sir, you're aware of the police reports that are associated with the evidence tech work that was done, right?
I'm aware of my report, sir.
Okay. Have you looked at, well, I mean, you're the evidence tech that was, as you indicated earlier, that was responsible for putting the, gathering the information from the scene, weren't you?
Yes, sir, I cataloged everything that I could in custody.
did you ever find any information, or do you have anything memorialized anyplace that deals with a 45 caliber ammunition that was likewise recovered at the scene?
I have nothing in my report that says 45 caliber.
Okay. Nothing in your report, right?
That is correct.
Now, do you, when you put these reports together as an evidence tech, do the other evidence techs put together reports?
I can't speak to if the other evidence I put a report together or not.
Okay. At the end of this, in terms of what takes place, when all the evidence is gathered, I assume there's some type of a list that's put together, is there not?
I imagine the lead investigator would put together a list. Yes,
The lead investigator puts together a list, not somebody who's an evidence tech, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I know there's like a property item associated with the numbers there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what was property item number 44, if you know?
Property on 44.
Yeah,
I don't know.
okay.
My report doesn't have any property at that high.
How far do your numbers go, sir?
The report, my report, and the items that I listed go up to 21.
Okay. Where do the additional numbers come from then, if there are in fact additional numbers, sir? Where would those come from?
Further investigation may have recovered more evidence or more proof of the property that those officers would secure at the time.
Okay. Who's Adam Henderson?
Sorry?
Who is Adam Henderson?
Detective sitting behind you, sir.
Okay, fair enough. And who's James Palmer?
Another detective.
Okay.
Sergeant.
All right. With that, I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Were the 40 caliber casings that you confiscated, were they all mixed together with the 9mm, or were they found in a different area?
They were all in the same general area of the expressway.
I don't have any other questions.
Any further?
I have nothing further.
No need. Anything further?
None of this.
Then,
I just don't know if they're 44. Okay, I don't have any other witnesses at this time.
And we won't be presenting evidence, Your Honor. Thank you.
Your Honor, I move to bind and turn over reserve argument.
I understand what the motions are made, but this does not add up to a probable cause standpoint to first degree murder. I mean, I would submit that at best, what's been established here, and this is tenuous, would be, I suppose, the claim to be made that Mr. Easterly is in fact a convicted felon based upon the stipulation, and that there was a weapon that was recovered somewhere in proximity or in relationship to him, and that would get you to being a felon in possession. But there's not a sufficient enough level of proof here to bind someone over on first degree murder. There's not any proof that exists here at all that he was shooting at anybody. The only proof that it exists, it comes from the defendant himself, that indicates that he was being shot at. And from that, we can't, there's not proof that exists that's direct or for that matter, even circumstantial, that he was somehow involved in assault with intent to murder or homicide or any of the charges that are assaultive, that are related to what complains or is contained in the complaint to this point, Your Honor. With that, Your Honor, I'd ask that at a minimum, the assaultive offenses be dismissed.
Well, Your Honor, I can give the court the postmortem report, but I think what's telling is that according to Dr. Kaplan, the complainant, Mr. Waller, suffered 7 gunshot wounds all around his body. If you look at the photographs of the multiple bullet strikes.
Okay, I got that. That's not an issue. I got someone that died. I got someone else that got shot. Seriously, shot in the head, got shot in the chest. The issue, though, is showing that this defendant was the person shooting, and he did so deliberately with intent to kill.
Well, to that, Your Honor, I would say that the connection there is that the casings that were recovered, that the firearm was recovered in close proximity to the defendant, late at night in a trucking area, and in an area immediately close to the area where the crash occurred. That firearm that was recovered from the defendant's proximity was later compared to casings that were found outside on the expressway near the crash, and also to the fire bullet that was recovered from the complainant's clothing. The gun that was recovered from the defendant's area, from his possession, matched to those casings and to that bullet. So there's certainly probable cause that the defendant used that firearm to fire at Mr. Waller and ended up shooting him. When we talk about, well, how do we know there's premeditation and deliberation? Look at the number of wounds and where the
That has nothing to do with premeditation and deliberation. That could be somebody in a panic that just.
But Judge, if you look at where the bullet strikes hit the vehicle, that is no accident. That's no split decision. That's not like, oh, I panicked and I accidentally let a shot off. It's multiple shots, all in basically a targeted area within the car. That's premeditation and deliberation.
No, that's just the person who was firing that weapon was a good shot. That's what that says. That doesn't show that there was any type of premeditation on that. That's a big step forward. I mean, I'm missing the dots, so to speak, in connecting them with that. You have to show his intent. And the only thing you got on his intent was, okay, I can infer certain facts based on the testimony, i.e. that the defendant was found in an area that I'm very familiar with the area. I'm very familiar where he was found. I know that area very well. My daughter lives not far from it. Not far from the accident and where the shooting took place, and where the police first saw him, they find a 9mm. Okay, I can infer certain facts from that 9mm probably was the 9mm that was used during the this incident. But there's still no premeditation shown. I don't have anything that shows what happened during the shooting, preceding the shooting, that would show a person's intent. I don't know who shot first. There's a lot of guns and a whole lot of shooting going on here. And one of the guns they didn't even find.
There's no evidence that any bullet strikes hit the charger.
It doesn't matter.
It does.
No, it doesn't. That means the person wasn't a good shot. Are they were moving when they were shooting? They couldn't hit it. That doesn't mean.
But that's a question of fact for a trier of fact. To just simply assume, oh well, maybe.
That's my whole point. I just can't simply assume either.
But that's a question of fact for a trier of fact.
No, you gotta connect those dots.
Well,
you gotta show me something that I can infer it or show it directly. And it's, I could say it could be this, or it could be that. There's a whole lot of could be. And I can't weigh one could be over the other could be.
I understand what the court's saying, and I know how you feel about coming back multiple days, but as an offer of proof, I would say that we have evidence that the vehicle, the Charger, was occupied by Mr. Easterly prior to the shooting, that they received information.
Okay, you're arguing facts, but not in evidence.
I know.
I can't take it.
I know. Here's my point. Here's what I'm saying. As an offer of proof, I'm suggesting to you that I could present more evidence that goes to the premeditation and deliberation. I'm not prepared to do that today, but I could present it to you. Alternatively, if the case gets found over, I'm going to ask this to be remanded so that I can enter that evidence on a first-degree murder charge. And we'll be back doing this over again. So I know that the court, doesn't want to come back. I wish I didn't have to come back. But if the court would would give me the opportunity to perhaps come back, add this additional evidence for that aspect of the case.
I object, Your Honor. Today was the day time to present the evidence, it's not here.
Yeah, at this point, no. I have to go by what I heard. And I'll just take it from there.
So would the court bind over on the second degree murder charge?
What I'm leaning for is open. I don't have any idea which way.
You heard court today.
I suggest you not say anything and put your system on mute. I'll just close it all out and nobody will hear anything. I won't say that again.
That's fair, Your Honor. I would move to bind over on a charge of open murder.
All right. Based upon the testimony and evidence given, I mean, we've already gone over quite a bit of it. I don't feel the need to go back over it again. I'm gonna bind over count 1 as open murder, and the remaining counts as charged. Court finds that both felonies did in fact occur in the city of Detroit. Probable cause of this charge is suspended. So we bound over the Wayne County Circuit Court Criminal Division for arraignment on the information, which will be March 29th at 9 o'clock. Thank you.
Stop going downstairs. Sorry, not going downstairs. Take on straight down. Let's see if she got it. Okay, thanks.